Hello, hello, hello. Hey, everybody. What's good? Welcome to the 10th episode of the Good Luck Go Fest podcast. My name is Stormcrow56K, and tonight's special guest is Boyks, or aka TheBoyks. Yeah, how's everybody doing tonight? I'm pumped, I'm excited, and I still don't know how to open up these podcasts, but I appreciate that you're here. Got a lot of people in chat. We're getting some love, some sibs. Everybody's hanging out. Appreciate it. So as per usual, we're going to talk a little bit before we bring Boyks in here about what's been going on with me, because that's why everybody's here, right? What's been going on with speed running? What's gonna happen with speed running? Any events or anything? And maybe some talk of some new records, stuff like that. I just watched a record. I watched two records today. So yeah. So what's up with me? I've officially dedicated myself to going after the TMNT NES bounty that Skunky48 has put out. $348 for the first person to get a 1655 or better. And I got a huge PB a couple of weeks ago, which is what was it, 1702. So I'm 7 seconds away from that sweet quiche. So yeah, so hopefully I can get it if I don't go insane. I did. It's Carnovember, so oh, and a corn dog. Thank you, Ness Atlas. Thank you. I keep forgetting. I've made it. Skunky has that's the deal. I'm not going for it unless he gives me a corn dog too. So I don't know if anyone else gets one or if that's just for me. It's Carnovember, so happy Carnovember, everyone. For anyone not familiar, November is the month that we celebrate Karnov and all stylings, primarily the NES Karnov game. This year, I actually learned the 1cc for the arcade. That was a lot of fun. It's honestly a really easy learn, so anyone who's looking to learn a 1cc, I mean, you could knock it out in one night. Give yourself a few hours, you can learn it. And then I finally fulfilled my promise to Junkyard Dave from our first episode of this podcast that I would learn the Cheetahman 2 speed run, which I finally kind of did. And I beat the game and I didn't get last place. It's a terrible run, but technically a speed run. So congrats to me. Awesome game. And that's all the self promotion. Moving on, news and such. So we're going to go ahead and open this up. Anyone in chat, please let me know if there's anything we should be talking about. It was a terrible run, says Crit Rocket Runner. I do have a couple of notes. The Castlevania NES speed run tournament is going on Speed Gaming right now. So a lot of friends of the podcast are on that. And I was talking about dropping this towards the end, but spoiler alert, guess who's going to be our next guest on the podcast? The one and only, the two and only Snack. Two Snack will be on next month. So everybody get ready for that. And I have the guest after him planned for as well, and I'll spoil that at the end. So, but yeah, check that out on Speed Gaming. I think they're down to the top 6, 7. Two Snack, I think, beat Implosion tonight. Also, coming up November 28th is the Bobble Tournament, or Bubble, however you want to pronounce it. I forgot to check to see if that flyer was ready by Krelos. I'll tweet that out if it does become available. Morphcat Games made this for the NES Dev, I think 2019 tournament, and they won. And had a lot of people have been running it just on the NES Dev version. They've released a new version 1.1, and they are doing the All Ducks category. So I believe Sunday is the deadline to sign up. Excuse me. If you're looking for info on that, feel free to message me or post on the Discord. You just have to have a PB, and there are Sacred Oil controllers that will be given away as prizes. Sorry, I had to cough. All right, let's see what other news we got here. Smash TV Relay, round 1 coming up on the 21st on GG Speedruns as well. That's the Super Smash TV for Super Nintendo. That'll be a lot of fun. They have 2 teams. They did a draft, and it's all easy percent. So everybody be on the lookout for that. Thank you, 40. I think that's about it for the news. So moving on to the hot records. Got a cough again. Need a lozenge. Speaking of Cheetahman 2, Magic, I think it's Magic K1, beat like the 5-year-old Cheetahman 2 record like 3 days ago. So give it up. Let's see. Nestmaster got the Leonardo only for NES Team and T. I'm sure some of you in chat here saw Crit Rocket Runner's Goonies 2 record that he got just like an hour ago. He improved that by like a second. So GG Crit. I know he's still grinding that. And then of course Super Mario Brothers 1 just a matter of hours ago as well. Nifsky got a 455.430. So GG. I will point out, and this is something I think we should talk about on a future podcast some more, because I've heard some varying opinions on it. He is a keyboard runner, and I just want to say I'm not anti-keyboard, but I have heard some interesting points about whether or not you could have some advantage or disadvantage on that. So I think that's something worth looking into one day. Any other records of note? I'm seeing Viva Quebec, new Star Tropics record by Bug Doctor. Says Ness Atlas. Thanks for shouting that out. Okay. So yeah, and if you have any of these, feel free to post them up in Discord. I don't have the time to be doing this research anymore. I'm sure I could find the time, but I'm just not gonna do it. I'm just not gonna do it. Oh, Magic K is French Canadian. Okay. Merci. All right. Up next, we have our first ad of the night. Thanks to Zed for sponsoring this episode. He brings you all this message. Butts. So thank you to Zedlar. If you would like to have a random ad that doesn't really do anything or mean anything, he paid 1,000 bits. Apparently that's what it takes. So yeah, there's the bar. If you wanna sponsor the next podcast. Thank you, Zed. We appreciate you. We love you. Moving on to everyone's favorite part of the show. It is checking in with Sinbad. I'm just now realizing I never got his approval to put his picture. So Zed, if you're watching, I hope that's okay. But it's too cute. Sinbad facts. In 2011, true fact, Sinbad was cornered by paparazzi on the street and asked what his favorite thing about Thanksgiving was. His response? Food and family. He was also asked about the passing of Heavy D. Apparently, Heavy D was his boy, and he was very sad. Thank you very much to Hollywood.tv for these groundbreaking questions and this Thanksgiving themed Sinbad fact. That is actually legitimately true. You can look it up on YouTube. Those jams. Thanks. Shout out to Zorilla33 for making that awesome Sinbad little thing there. All right, so let me get Boyks in here. Let me get him unmuted. Everybody in chat, give some love to Boyks. Hello, Boyks.
Hello. Howdy, howdy.
Howdy to you. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being on. Super happy to have you here. You've been on my, I think I told you, you've been on my list since I first came up with the idea to start the podcast. So
Oh, I appreciate that.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, we were, we obviously were talking a little bit before we got started, and I feel not only, obviously you've done lots of interesting speed runs and stuff, and we can dive into it a little bit, but you have a history in Magic the Gathering, as do I. and that always fascinates me.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so like we kind of always just like to open things up with having you kind of tell chat a little bit about yourself, who you are as a person, and as little or as much as you'd like. So,
Yeah.
what is Boyks? Who is Boyks?
So, I've been making video content in either streaming form or YouTube video since about 2011. I am currently a Twitch partner with a large audience of sometimes 10 viewers. Uh, I'm mostly a variety streamer slash speedrunner now. I've done Pepsi Man, Crotel Renovations, and Donkey Kong 5: The Journey of Over Time and Space at GDQ. I also organize a speedrun marathon called Valuethon. Uh, it has been every roughly 6 months, although we skipped the most recent fall one just because of complications organizing. I also modify retro consoles. I'm a music mashup artist, and I co host a podcast about awful movies starring dogs called Rough Cuts.
Which is the best thing ever. So I was telling you, I'm still trying to get into that a little bit. I started listening to one, but I loved what I was hearing. But it's the best concept.
Yeah, there turns out to be a lot of bad movies, but there aren't a lot of podcasts which rate the dogs in those movies. So we felt like it was very important to give back to the world and rate the dog for you without having you have to sit through that film.
But we do have to sit through an hour-long podcast to do.
Yes, true. It's true. There's
But
an hour long discussing it, but then we rate the dog.
okay,
So like you kind of win in
right.
the end, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and even if you listen to the whole thing, that's typically going to be a net gain when you're looking at least an hour. So
Right, yeah.
nice, right on. Okay, and you said you live on the West Coast,
Yeah,
right?
I'm a Seattleite.
Okay, very groovy. All right,
So
so go ahead.
yeah, I used to be a big Magic streamer. That's actually where I got my partnership with Twitch. Because I used to play a ton of Magic. I actually grew up playing Magic. Because my brother taught me the game, and then I got addicted, like most people do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, eventually I moved on from Magic to speedrunning, um, and then that's where we are now, making a ton of content.
And can you tell me a little more about I mean you were just a Magic streamer? I mean were you going out and doing tournaments and stuff?
Oh yeah, so I was big on the grind.
Okay.
Um, so I picked up Magic actually because I used to do Pokemon tournaments when I was a kid, and they had Magic at the same shop, and my brother was into it, so he bought me a starter set in like 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So I got hooked into it just playing like kitchen table, lunchroom Magic at school, and with my friends after school in their house, and then I eventually got into tournament competitive Magic,
Mm-hmm.
and that was all paper, going to tournaments every week or every other week with friends, and I eventually realized that there were also videos of Magic content, specifically draft content that I was
Mm-hmm.
super interested in. And there was a website way back in the day called draftmagic.com, which tried to make draft videos back when Channel Fireball, which is a big Magic, well, it's sort of a store and content creation site,
Right.
but they had issues with their videos. So this draft magic site was trying to like sneak in and steal their audience, basically. And I watched the videos and I'm like, holy crap, I could do this. This is easy. And I just made a bunch of videos and submitted it to them, and they all sucked horribly. They were terrible. But like I was persistent because I'm like, I can do this. This is easy. I think this is fun and I like what they're doing. So I just kept at it, and they eventually added me on. And I was actually a YouTuber for a while under that website.
Oh,
And
cool.
then Twitch started picking up around that time. There were actually only like 3 or 4 Magic streamers total on
Oh
the
wow.
whole website.
There's a few
That
more
was it.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, some of those people were still streaming, mind you, but like you would go on Twitch and there would be 3 people. So you'd be like, okay, I'm watching Magic. It's one of these three people, so I'll just pick this one and
Right.
watch it. Um, and then I thought that was actually a waste of time at the time because I'm like, well, I have way more control over my YouTube videos. I can edit them, which I hated editing them. And I felt the content was more curated than like a live content. So I actually held off on making a Twitch account for about a year until I decided to just kind of do that in addition to my YouTube stuff as sort of like a fun side thing. And eventually I sort of just decided, hey, making YouTube videos on their own kind of sucks and it's a lot of work and it's
Mhm.
way more fun to just talk with people
Right.
on Twitch. So I started doing that and I became like a I don't know, like I wasn't big, but like 200 viewers back in at that time on Twitch when like in total Magic had 1,000 viewers was pretty big.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's awesome.
so I did that for a while, and I was sort of a well-known personality in that community. And then I was also still really big into speedrun content. Specifically, I used to download videos of speedruns because there wasn't streams of speedruns at the time. So I would go on task videos, I would go on Speed Demo Archive, and I would just load up my hard drive of speedruns to watch in my spare time because I thought they were cool as hell.
Hell yeah.
Like somebody, I know one I remember watching a lot was a small Mario only Super Mario World run, and oh, sorry, there's a dog barking.
No worries.
Wah. There we go. So I would watch that, and that was a task, and they were doing things that humans couldn't do, and I didn't really understand that at the time. But I'm like, holy crap, this rules. So so I started doing that, and then I found out that GDQ existed. So I actually went to an AGDQ in 2015 actually. And I just wanted to check it out. And that's where I met a lot of my friends that I currently have on Twitch, a lot of the people I know from the speedrun community. And that kind of fostered the love of I actually want to do this rather than I just want to watch it.
Oh, wow. So you
So
hadn't done any speedrunning at all before you actually went to the GDQ?
no, I went to GDQ as a Magic player that would play Magic events in the side rooms of GDQ.
Nice. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah. And then I moved from there to being like, oh, I actually want to do this. So that was a lot of fun. The next GDQ I went to, actually, that first GDQ, the reason I even went is because they accepted me as a host, and I'd never done a speedrun before. So
Oh, wow.
they set me down for like a 10-hour shift over all of the source games that they had that year, which is the longest single shift they gave anybody. They did ask me if I knew what I was getting into. I'm like, yeah, sure, give me 10 hours. I don't care.
Yeah, they're playing the game fast.
Yeah, whatever. So So I hosted that year, and then I in 2016 I came back and I submitted Pepsi Man and as my only game because I didn't expect. Oh no, actually I did submit Chandelar, which was a Magic the Gathering PC game that I speedrun as well, and that you speedrun actually.
Yeah, and we
Uh,
and we're gonna dedicate a lot of time to Chandelier. No,
yep.
just
So I submitted both of those. They accepted Pepsi Man, which I didn't expect, and then that became kind of its own big thing.
yeah.
So yeah,
PepsiMan.net. You need to find Boyks.
that's true. It's true.
Um, okay, and that's awesome. So, and I got just a couple more questions too about kind of your transition, and I'd love to dive a little bit deeper into that. So, it seems like I've seen some tweets and stuff from you. So it seems like things didn't end super well. Like you have kind of negative feelings towards Magic in general now, or I mean, was it that ended it, or was it just the love of speedrunning kind of taken over, or was it a combination of the two? Or am I misreading that?
I kind of stopped liking Magic for about 2 years before I actually quit playing Magic.
Okay.
Part of it is the game. It was just becoming way more expensive than it used
Yeah.
to be. And it felt like my only friends that I had were Magic players.
Yeah.
Like there's this big bubble in that community where if you're not talking to a Magic player about Magic, then you're wasting your time, essentially.
Right.
like like that's just who it is. So I wanted to kind of branch out a bit from that, which I was already getting from, GDQ and Twitch friends,
Hmm.
that I didn't necessarily have on the Magic side. The other side of it is Well, the expensive part is important though, because I also wasn't making a lot of money, and I was in and out of work a lot during that time. And it's really hard to like keep a stream going when you have to pay $15 every hour to play.
Yeah.
Like, it's a
Oh yeah.
big deal. So,
Yeah, especially when you're not good. Because yeah, when I was drafting when I started, yeah, I was
yeah.
not great.
And even if you are good, you just run into bad luck, and then
Yeah.
suddenly you're down $200 that month. Like, it's legitimately like they don't say it's gambling, but it is legitimately that direction if you get that deep into it.
Oh yeah.
Um, so that sucked. Outside of that, I think the community is a little rough. There are pockets of the Magic community that are really really good and they're supportive, and they're just really friendly. But I feel like the vast majority of that community is just very aggressive, um, and caustic in the way
Yeah.
that they talk to people, which isn't great. They're very antagonistic rather
Yeah.
than helpful. And outside of that, Wizards of the Coast also doesn't seem to care about the players as an audience. They just seem to care about them as in how much they can get that audience to buy their product, which sucked.
Yeah. And that's just exponentially getting worse as time goes on.
Yeah. So I kind of had a bad fallout that way. I used to do a lot of sponsored streams from Wizards of the Coast, actually.
Oh, cool.
I was one of their streamers that they would send to. I actually got like a preview card or two out of
Oh,
that.
nice.
Um, but their payment for that was here's 2 digital packs on Magic Online, right? So it's like they weren't they wanted my audience to like fixate on their game, but they didn't want to pay me for like what I was providing,
Yeah.
which sucked. And I've heard they're still doing that actually.
Now they're giving arena packs, which is even less worth it.
Yeah, because you can't trade that in for real money like you could
Right.
before. Yeah. So there's that. There's just it's a whole compound list of things.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people I really like in that community and a lot of friends that I still have. But it also felt like once I left the community, I just severed the line from people that I used to be really close to. Just because I didn't play that game anymore.
Right. Yeah, and then I
So
guess you pretty much started over your viewers and everything too, right? So
yeah,
you've got the
there's a couple
partnership. Yeah.
there's a couple diehards that are still here from when I was popular. Um, but yeah, it was basically just starting the stream over from scratch at that point. Because the other thing is, Magic players only want to watch Magic. They
Right.
don't care about any other video games.
Right.
So if you're not playing Magic or watching Magic, then they're asking you to play Magic, and they're asking why you're not playing it because they want to watch Magic. So it's awkward. Getting down that rabbit hole, I feel like this happens to a lot of popular streamers, though. To be fair, like if you only stream Banjo Kazooie, and then you suddenly switch over to a game that isn't Super Mario 64 because that's the most popular speedrun game, uh, then you just lose half your audience. Same with Mario Maker. That community is
Hmm.
really tough to get out of Mario Maker, and you could do like ROM hacks and Kaizos and stuff, but how do you switch over from Mario Maker to like Fall Guys?
Right.
Like it's super hard. You have to get lucky.
Yeah, or just be that one in a million
Yeah,
personality or whatever. Yeah.
yeah. So there's a lot to take into account. Streaming's hard. It's really hard. If you want to actually quote unquote make it, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
If you want to just do it for fun, which is kind of what I decided I wanted to do after I left Magic, then it becomes way less stressful.
Yeah, and then especially with speed running too, obviously you've got that whole other side of it, the reward of, meeting your goals and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah. 1 second here. One momento.
no prob.
Sorry,
You're
it's getting
fine.
pinged. Yeah. So the speedrunning side's interesting too, because like speedrunning can be very competitive, but I don't really look at speedrunning as a competitive event, if that makes sense. Even though I've done like races and stuff, it's not even like I don't care who wins. I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
So like the speedrunning itself, at least on Twitch, is sort of organized around leaderboards and fastest times and world records. But just like playing a game with my friends, or having a game that they're playing at the same time and we're competing in just to like for fun to see who can go faster. That's way more interesting to me than uh, always looking at like the top runs or worrying if your time isn't like 10 seconds faster than it was last time, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I can see
I think
that.
that affects like what games I choose to play also.
Yeah, and you've definitely got an interesting list. So what was the so you've gone to GDQs, you've hosted. What was the first run you started? Walk us through that.
Mm,
And how did you decide that?
so the first speedrun I ever did was Caro Blaster, which is a Studio Pixel like running gun platformer.
Okay.
That was made by the same folks who made Cave Story.
Okay.
So the reason I got into that because there was a buddy I watched who did Cave Story speedruns and did some Caro Blaster speedruns, and I'm like, oh, I should try that. So that actually started as a downtime during Magic events when I was streaming, because when you do Magic events that aren't Magic Arena, sometimes you just have 40 minutes to do nothing, but you can't leave.
Right.
So, so I'm like, I'll just speed run something. I got 40 minutes. That run takes 40 minutes. Let's do it. So I started doing that. That game's actually really good. It just has a button mashing problem where in order to kill enemies fast, you have to press the button fast a lot over an
Mm.
extended period of time. So I ended up stopping doing that run because it just hurt my hands too much.
Yeah, it sounds painful.
Yeah. But that one was really good. I think that's like a pretty good intro speed run, just to get into like how to speedrun a platformer.
Yeah.
The only problem with it is that the final boss is hell on your hand and it's RNG. So not great.
Right. And you were saying before we started too, you're pretty used to RNG heavy runs now, but yeah, I guess
Yeah.
jumping into that on your first game ever. I mean, throw someone in to learn how to swim type of thing, I guess.
Yeah, so that boss throws random platforms at you as well as projectiles. So in order to kill the boss quickly, you have to be in a good position to stand in a spot that won't get you hit, where you can button mash. And you have to be constantly moving. So you can't just stand in one spot. So that mixed with random platforms means if you don't get good RNG of where they're located, it can be very difficult to finish the run.
Yeah.
So a lot of those runs just died at the end and I just stopped doing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that game. I mean
Hmm.
I mean not that game specifically. What is that, a console game or PC?
That's a PC game. I
Okay.
think it got released on Switch,
Okay.
and a couple other places later. But it's a good game. It's fun casually. Like if you're not doing a speed run, you can get the upgrades that then make that boss fight not miserable. But the speed run tries to keep your resources as low as possible, so you just can't buy all the
Sure.
weapon upgrades that it expects of you at that time. You just have to make up for it by playing very quickly.
And mashing ridiculously fast.
Yeah. The next game I picked up was Chandelar, which fit the magic theme better, and it was a game that I played from my childhood, so that's why I picked it up. It also hadn't been run before, so I actually routed that game.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, there weren't any speedruns of Chandelar. They didn't exist. I didn't even think it was possible.
Okay. So I
So
I thought you were the one that routed it, but I wasn't positive. So that's awesome to hear. So
yeah, so Chandelar is a uh I guess you could call it a roguelike,
yeah,
honestly. It randomly spawns a map which has random dungeons that you explore, which give you random enemies that have decks of cards, and your deck starts with random cards as you pick up random cards to make it better. So that's the gist of Chandelar. Just beat these 5 castles and beat the final boss.
oh,
So
concede to the final boss. Yeah. Well, I guess
yeah,
that's
I
the speed
we
run,
figured that
anyways.
out.
Right.
Yeah. So the casual playthrough of a Chandelar game for most people is like 20 hours because people just grind and keep building one card at a time.
Yeah.
I think my first run of that game was an hour and a half, and I thought, man, this is so fast. This game's great. No one's gonna beat my hour and a half. And then I got an hour the next time. I'm like, oh shit. Like anytime you cut a half an hour off of a run, you're like, well, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe there's some room for improvement here.
So were
So,
now so were you doing the Shiv and Dragon strategy from the start or
I actually did. So there's a card called Hypnotic Spectre,
mhm,
and we're talking magic nerd stuff. So
hippie?
I'm sure most people don't know what we're talking about. But Hypnotic Spectre is just a 2/2 flyer that's hard to hit or hard to like deal with because a lot of the removal in that game kills non-black creatures, and it's a black creature.
Mhm,
So there's that, and then you would just make it hit harder with like Unholy Strengths. So the idea was just play Hypnotic Spectre turn one, put it on Holy Strength on it, eat their hand, and then just kill them.
mhm,
Because most of the enemies in that game only have like 10 health. So it's not too bad to kill them with a 2/2. But we found out in the dungeons there's a random item that can spawn, which is a die. If you pick up the die on the floor, it will do one of three things, I believe. It might be two.
yes,
But
2.
it'll either give you extra health on your next fight, regardless of when that happens, or it will give you a random artifact or creature from your deck in play on turn one, technically turn zero because it can actually attack that turn in play.
Mhm,
So what we decided to do was just cut out all the creatures except for the biggest creature we could find, which was Shivan Dragon. That didn't have a downside anyway.
right.
And then we would just turn zero Shivan Dragon and just kill them in 2 hits all the time, which was great. It works most of the time, except
Right,
when it doesn't.
right.
So we would do that, but even with that strategy, all the dungeons are random. So sometimes you have to like reset a dungeon and go in and out, and constantly get a new dungeon to get anything actually quick. Because you don't want to fight a lot of enemies. You want to pick up some dice, go to an enemy, get the thing you need, and get the hell out of there, right?
Mhm,
Uh, or just kill the boss for it and get the hell out as quickly as possible. So it's a little bit of knowing like when to reset, when to get the item you need, and then just sort of how to build your deck to take advantage of the game mechanics that exist, which is the essence of speedrunning, right?
sure.
Like use the mechanics to your advantage and make up your own rules. So that's what we did. It was cool. And then yeah, apparently you can just concede the final boss and it counts as a win because who cares?
Right. Yeah, all that
Yeah.
happens is it's just the amount of time that, Chandelar is at peace or something by how much damage you do to it.
Yeah. So the boss of Chandelar has a deck of every card in the game, which is not powerful, but they thought it was. But it can still like just randomly kill you out of nowhere. So killing the boss doesn't really do anything, and he has a shitload of health for no reason
Right.
because it's supposed to be a challenge. But the only thing killing him does is change a number on the end screen that says you won, and it changes the amount of years that you've sent that boss to another plane before it comes back and kills everybody in Chandelar. But that's in the future, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a new category to me.
Right? If you concede, though, the number starts with a signed integer in the negative values. So you actually send it into the past. Which means lore wise that you cause the scene that you're actually solving in the speedrun.
Oh, wow, I never noticed that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Well,
that happens.
yeah. Quick shot. Anyone that plays Magic and speed runs, you have to run this game. I know there are at least a few of you out here. It seems like there's a pretty big mix of people that do speed run and at least play Magic, casually. I don't know. It's an RNG shit show, but yeah, I love it.
Yeah, basically you just don't go into a speedrunner Chandelar thinking that you're gonna beat your time.
Yeah.
If you're doing that, then it's fun. If you care about your time, Chandelar is not a great place to be.
But even just beating it, I mean, like
Yeah.
25, 30 minute, like if I don't know, it's very rewarding.
Yeah,
So,
I used to do a bunch of races of Chandelar with people, and I would win literally every race that I did. Because I went for um, safe strats, and
mhm.
then just knowing, you know, intuitively when to redo things, as well as knowing glitches in the game, because that game has glitches.
Oh,
that
really?
you can take advantage of. So I would win most of those in about 20 minutes,
Oh,
like on
wow.
average. And that's in a race environment where you can't just reset and go for a good time. The one glitch in that game is very funny, by the way. If the opponent has a mana vault in play, which is a 1 mana artifact that taps for
Mhm.
4 colorless, you can pay 4 colorless to untap it on your upkeep, and if it's tapped, it deals 1 damage to them. So if they have that in play, or if they have like any artifact that taps for mana, including Moxes, you can
Mhm.
tap them on their upkeep. If they can't spend the mana, they'll take mana burn, and then they'll be tapped for their turn.
But you can tap them? You can tap your
You, as a player, can tap your opponent's
Oh,
artifact
wow.
only on the upkeep step. It's
Okay.
a bug, but if you tap the mana vault, not only do they take 4 mana burn, they also take one for it being tapped every turn. And then the moment they get 4 mana, they will try to untap it on their upkeep, and then you just tap it again in response,
Oh,
and then they'll
man.
just die because they never do anything.
Oh, that's too good.
So that's a really good bug that does come up in speedruns sometimes because they play them, and you're like, "Well, I'm killing you now." So
Yeah, and I've gotta think there's gotta be more stuff out there for it, as far as, glitches and optimizations. I can't who knows, maybe there's even a better plan than Shivan Dragon. What are your thoughts on that?
There might be a better plan than Shivan. We just did Shivan because it was the fastest with the best starter deck. Because you
Yeah,
could literally sell everything in that deck except for a couple cards that made it go faster, and then buy the Shivan with the amount of money that you have. So it
right.
was just convenient. Um, there could be something faster. There was something we were also working on before the community kind of disbanded, which was mapping the location of the castles because they
Hmm.
spawn randomly on the map, but there's actually a logic to it.
Oh, really?
So we made a map of all their locations,
Mhm.
and in theory, if you memorize that, you could find one castle and know where all the rest of them are without having to just search.
Oh, wow, yeah, that'd be huge.
But there were like 50 permutations that we found,
Yeah,
so it's a lot to memorize.
sure.
Um, but it could work if you were going for like a world record time. So
Confused Mike, where you at, dog? Confused Mike, that's your new challenge.
yeah, I'm not sure if those maps still exist, but we did create them at one point. In theory, it would work. I never really got too deep into it, but it's interesting.
Yeah, well, I'd love to see more. And you said somebody was it today just did a new run too, or
Yep,
yesterday? Okay.
brand new run yesterday on the leaderboard. There is one active runner right now of that video game.
Hell yeah. Um, okay, and then going back a little bit too. And we talked, before we started. You're kind of all over the place with your runs, and even just what you play on stream, when you're not speed running too. But I mean, were you mainly like PC centric growing up? I mean, what's kind of your happy place with gaming in your childhood?
Yeah, so I played a ton of console games growing up and PC games. Um, I used to be a Doom kid. I used to make Doom maps. That was fun.
Nice.
I played an NES because we had an NES at home. I bought a Super Nintendo. Played PlayStation 1. I didn't have an N64, but my neighbor friend did. So then we became friends because they played my PlayStation. I played their N64. Classic.
Yeah, that's a beautiful
Xbox.
thing.
I was a big Halo kid. I was so big into Halo. You have no idea.
Yeah, I was too. I don't know if
Yeah.
were you going to tournaments and stuff. What level of Halo kid were you?
I only did one tournament at a store on like a pre-release night,
Yeah,
and I never did a tournament again
yeah.
because that sucked.
I did one as well, and yeah,
Yeah.
it did not go well.
No. One, I probably wasn't actually good. Two, I didn't think like the people at that store at midnight really actually wanted to sit there and play Halo. I think they just wanted to yell and get their game.
Yeah.
Whatever pre-release it was. Um, but yeah, I mean, I used to do a lot of shooters. I actually wasn't that big uh on the retro scene, quote unquote. Like I played a lot of games usually with friends, but
Mhm.
I didn't really get into it much until I started streaming. And
Yeah.
now I just have a million consoles hooked up on my desk right next to me, all hooked up to a CRT because it's a mess, and why not?
Ew, real hardware. Gross.
Yeah. Right?
I'm a Mister guy. I don't know if you heard.
Yeah, the Mister's nice.
Yeah.
My buddy Owl Anonymous has been talking up the Mister for years.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Al's great. I
Yeah.
love watching him. Yeah, and obviously I'm joking. I mean, I love it too, but it's just fun to meme on hating hardware like people talk shit on emulators.
Yeah, I mean, I do my Pepsi Man runs on the PlayStation Classic now.
Oh, really?
Like, as a community, we just decided, well, the PlayStation Classic's fine. You can mod it to play whatever, so who cares? Let's just do it. Because,
Eh,
like, there was already a big split over, and this is common in a lot of retro scenes, especially PlayStation scenes, because PS1 is not a very good console as far as like running games properly
right.
and at the right speeds. But there was a big emulator versus console split. And we fought about that for a couple years on the Pepsi Man leaderboard. And then somebody did a Pepsi Man on a Japanese PS2 with fastest speed, and it
Mhm.
was comparable within like 5 seconds of the emulator speed. So at that point, we're like, let's just mix the boards and who cares, right? It's
Yeah,
Pepsi Man. Who gives a shit?
right.
So, so at that point, we also decided like once the PlayStation Classic came out, it's an official Sony product that we've modified to put other ROMs on, but it's an official Sony product, and it runs RetroArch, which we already allow emulators. So
Mhm.
let's just do it. It's just as good as running a PS2 and fastest speed, so that is now allowed. I think there's
Nice.
like 3 or 4 of us that all run on PlayStation Classics now.
Yeah, don't some games struggle on the PS Classic? Is that why they put some PAL versions on that originally, or was that just a fuck up from Sony?
Right. So
If you know.
some games don't run well on it, but it all depends on the ROM. It's like any emulator
Okay.
really comes down to. What actually happened is the PlayStation actually doesn't have PAL ROMs on it. It has PAL settings by default in the emulator.
Interesting. Okay.
So what you need to do is you need to go in the emulator settings, which you can access without modding the console, and then switch it from PAL to NTSC, and then it just runs at the proper resolution.
Okay. And frame
Or the
rate too, right?
proper frame rate, yeah,
Right.
FPS. So, they literally just configured it wrong. That's all they did. They didn't configure the emulator right. They probably just got an emulator, like, core online and then just put it in without looking at it.
Right.
So,
I gotta say, I'm so happy they did though, because yeah, I got mine for like
yeah.
$40 or whatever. I got two beautiful USB PlayStation controllers,
Yeah,
and
they're not bad, to be honest.
yeah, I love mine.
Like, they're not analog, but if you wanna play a PlayStation 1 game with it, it works perfect.
Yeah, and I don't know, I'm not a big fan of the analog sticks on a PS1 personally, so that's kind
Yeah.
of that's kind of my happy space, happy place.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing, some PS1 games on it for sure, outside of, like, my speed game, quote, unquote. I did Clock Tower just recently.
Nice.
Clock Tower is just like a horror adventure game, point and click,
Hmm.
but that ran great. Wu-Tang, the the Wu-Tang fighting game,
Of
that game's
course.
not good at all,
Really?
as expected.
I kind of want to
Not
see that though.
Yeah, don't play Wu-Tang. Although, my buddy and I did record some gameplay of Wu-Tang. He just hasn't released the video of it before COVID hit. We actually recorded that at GDQ, so
Oh, nice.
that might eventually come down the pipeline on YouTube.
Well, I will
Um,
have to subscribe.
yeah, there's some good stuff. I love PlayStation 1 games. Like, there's a lot of really good stuff on that console that people still haven't played through.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, me too. I actually just installed a mod chip in mine like a month ago. I tried
hmm,
doing the soft mod thing with like the action replay or whatever forever and couldn't get it to work. And yeah, finally just wired up that bad boy.
I will say, so there are a couple options now for SD card, like loading on a PlayStation
Hmm.
1. There's the PSIO, which is sort of the older version now, which
Right.
plugged into the IO port on the back of the PlayStation 1. That one actually does require a hard mod on the board.
Hmm.
Uh, I would not suggest the PSIO because I have a friend who ordered 3 of them because all 3 of them fried.
Oh damn.
So and then they don't actually do anything about that, and they don't have any support, so your only option at that point is to buy another one, which will also fry. So, don't get a PSIO. Instead, I believe the one that just came out is the, X Station, I wanna
Mm-hmm.
say is what it's called,
Yeah.
which is another much easier to mod thing that actually has a dev that, like, cares and supports the people that have bought it, and that thing works perfectly. So, if you're looking for, like, a laser replacement for your PlayStation, um, check out the X Station is what I would suggest.
Yeah, there's another one too, isn't there, that that also works for Saturn. I think there's one
Oh,
that
yeah.
does Saturn, Dreamcast, and PlayStation now. So, which is insane.
Yeah, you can also put an SD card, like laser replacement in your GameCube. There's a ton of these options if you want to mod actual hardware to run that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's
yeah, it's not bad.
preferable for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have one for my Dreamcast, which is
Oh,
another one of my favorites. Go ahead.
that's true. Lee was saying so. My buddy Puri is the one who installed the PSIOs.
Hmm.
He also installed a controller like input monitor, which he thinks is what fried the PSIOs, but he's not actually sure.
Hmm.
So who knows?
All right, so yeah,
Apparently, I think it just doesn't have proper voltages, even if you don't make any other modifications. I think it's just like razor thin bad voltage. So
interesting.
yeah,
Well, yeah, do your research for sure, but yeah, I'd say yeah, play it safe and just avoid that because it does seem like there are newer, better options.
yeah, for sure.
Um, so have you, other than Pepsi Man, have you? Let's see, what other runs have you done? Any other PS1 runs?
Mary Kate and Ashley Crush Course.
Yes. Is that on a scale of 1 to Wu Tang fighting game? How good is that?
Uh, I mean, you do get to choose the 2 cutest boys at the end of the game, so there's that.
Sounds fun.
I've also ran Sabrina the Teenage Witch Twitch in Time.
Nice.
That one's actually worse. Somehow. That one's not good.
Are they good for speed running though? Sometimes some bad games can be fun to speed run.
No, it's not good for speedrunning either, but I speedran it. That
Yeah.
one I learned just as like a joke so I could submit it to a marathon, and they accepted it, and I hate them. That's the only thing I can say about that game.
Nice.
I might eventually try it again though. Um, that's most of the PlayStation 1 games I've speedran though. There's a couple games I've wanted to learn, but I never really got around to. Um, one is Mortal Kombat Special Forces. That game is not good, but
Yeah, I've not heard great things.
I didn't mind playing it when I played it casually. So I think it could be an interesting speedrun if you just play it well.
That's
So
the
that's an interesting one.
that's the one with Jax and Sonya,
Yep, it's
right?
the
Okay.
Jax game. Yep.
Okay.
There's also Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks on PS2. That
Mm-hmm.
game has actual tech. It's
Oh, really?
freaking sweet. It has skips and everything. You fly through the air and skip half of the like stages, and it's nuts.
Nice.
I wouldn't mind learning that one just because it's so freaking weird, and it's a really big oddity in the Mortal Kombat like history and the fighting game history because it's literally a God of War clone, and it
Oh,
doesn't
is
really
it?
make sense. So it's
What?
a God of War clone with like Mortal Kombat fighting, which
Interesting.
is even worse. So yeah, the Sub-Zero game was awful. I played that one on stream. Actually, a while ago when I was moving from Magic to speedrunning, I wasn't really sure what to do on my stream, so I was trying to come up with like weird ideas to see if I could like make an impact on what I wanted to do for my stream. So one of the ideas was I'm just going to play literally every Mortal Kombat game over the next 2 months and then rate them essentially. And we did every single Mortal Kombat game including that Sub-Zero game which blows.
See, I've
Uh,
always wanted to play it, so
yeah.
it's that bad. Okay.
It hates you specifically as a person for touching the controller. Yes.
Okay. So maybe I should play it. What you're telling me.
Um, it is a game that is very fun if you have a strong uh patience
Hmm.
and if your audience really likes Schadenfreude.
Okay.
If those two things sound like you should pick up Sub-Zero, like mythologies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking I can at least dedicate like a half an hour to it. I'll commit to that.
Yeah. It acts kind of like a puzzle game at points where like if you don't do the right input, it just straight up kills you. It's
Yeah,
great. I love it. I did get some of my best clips out of that game though. So, eh, you know,
yeah, that's something
take what you can get.
for sure.
One of the other speedruns actually I learned really early was Pokemon Snap. I've been speedrunning that on and off for 6 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that one's it's tough because like you think a on rails, it's a shooter really.
Hmm.
You just have a camera instead of a gun. But an on rails game that takes you from point A to point B at the same speed every time, how do you speedrun that? Like that's a legitimate question, right?
Yeah.
Like how do you speedrun that type of game? And
Well,
it's
how do
really
you?
interesting because the way that you go faster is by optimizations, knowing your point totals that you need for specific photos and locations, as well as like I need to get this many points on this stage to unlock this item. So I'm going to go into the stage needing 2,000 points. I know if I take a picture of this, that'll give me 2,000. So I can immediately leave, get the item, then go back through the stage without having to redo it. Like
Hmm.
that type of thing. So you're constantly doing that and just sort of optimizing what you need based on what you missed, and doing math throughout the run. And then the rest of it is the golden eye problem of if you look at a Pokemon, the N64 legs. So it's a game about taking pictures about Pokemon where you try your best to not look at any of them, which is very funny to me.
Yeah.
So you're doing that essentially. You're just trying to go through the stages as quickly as possible without redoing any of them. And then you're trying your best to reduce the lag on the system at the same time. It's like the core of what speedrunning is, which is great.
It-
I think it's a very like intro friendly speedrun. If you've never done one before, you can pick it up pretty quickly.
yeah, you got some menuing in there as well, I would think.
Yep, menuing's big. Because when you're choosing your photos, you only want to pick the ones that are important. That also means sometimes you take an extra photo to get the photo that you want to show up in a better spot on the menu so you don't have to move as much. Like that type of thing.
Oh wow.
There's a lot of just small optimizations throughout the run to go faster, which is, I think it's really cool. It's kind of actually a popular board. They have
That was my next question. Yeah.
120 some runners.
Oh damn. Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Or bigger than I would think, I guess.
Yeah, and that's for the any percent category. There's other categories, but I think any cent is it's super approachable for sure. There it does take a certain type of person to want to do that, but at the same time, it's a really chill run. So like, it's not a high stress type of situation.
How long of a run is it for any percent ish?
My PB was 24:30 something. I would say if you're just starting, it's probably about 30 minutes.
Okay.
I want to say world record. It's way faster than mine because I use old strats from like 6 years ago. I never updated those, so my strats are not the fastest. The fastest time now is 20:32,
Oh wow.
which is also on the Japanese version. I run on US, which is just straight up slower.
Just
So,
text reasons.
yep, text. The US to Japanese version timing difference is about 2 minutes,
Oh
so
damn. Yeah, that's huge.
it's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
like I said, if you're just trying to have fun and do your thing, then yeah, whatever.
yep, for sure. And then you get games like Donkey Kong 5: The Journey of Over Time and Space, which is the full title, and you need to say it every time you mention the game. Otherwise, you're doing it injustice.
And is this an
Uh,
official release that we're looking at here?
so okay,
I'm
there's
not
a famous
familiar. Yeah, go ahead.
there's a famous bootlegger called Syntax, um, Chinese bootlegger, which made a
Mhm.
ton of different like rip-off games. So all they did was essentially take one game that already existed, stole sprites and music from other games, Frankenstein them together and then sold them on the Chinese market as a legitimate game, which it is not. So Donkey Kong 5 is Super Mario Deluxe with Donkey Kong sprites. I believe DuckTales sprites. It also has Bonk the, I guess you could just call him Bonk, sprites. It has music from Pokemon Pinball, and for some reason at the end you fight Dracula.
Am
Uh,
I seeing a Tasmanian devil spin there too, or am I imagining that?
yeah, whenever you run with DK, he turns into the Tasmanian devil. Also, if you pick up a fire flower, he does a Hadoken
Nice.
for some reason.
That's
So it's
awesome.
essentially just Mario with like really shitty inputs that get eaten half the time.
Yeah.
So there's that, uh, which is it's fine. Like this is another one I picked up as a joke for a speedrun marathon. I'm like, you know what? I guess I will run this.
So this is the awful block. I'm guessing we're watching here.
Yeah, yeah. This was actually at what was this? This was GDQX.
Okay.
The one time they ran at TwitchCon. My buddy Drex is actually on the couch
Oh,
helping me
okay.
out with that.
Mr.
So
Mr. Bubsy
hell yeah. Drex is a great guy, by the way. If you're not following Drex, you need to follow him on Twitch. He runs Pugsy,
or
as
Pugsy, sorry. Yeah.
yeah, as well as Super Mario 3D World. I want to say it's the Wii U one, um, and a bunch of other random games. He's a really good guy. But yeah, so this is just like random garbage bootleg game. This company also released other great titles like uh, what was it, Harry Boy in the Chamber of Secrets, which was this exact same game but with Harry Potter sprites.
Nice.
There's also a Digimon version of this exact same game.
Some poor Chinese child got all three of those games for Christmas one year.
Yep. so so there's that. I believe they've also released some random Pokemon and Lion King and other weird ripoffs. You can find a lot of them actually at a what was it? It was Handheld Underground is the website where a lot of these are ripped. There's somebody that actually specifically goes and buys uh, Chinese bootleg Game Boy games and then uploads the ROMs to their website so that people can, play them.
Yeah,
He
that's
also
awesome.
he had to make a specific emulator for it because most of the bootlegs don't actually play on emulators that emulate real hardware. He had to make one that
Hmm.
actually like loaded the ROM properly because it's so jank and poorly coded. It's great.
Jesus.
So yeah, they're fun. When I actually submitted this, I submitted this as a joke to GDQ as well, and then they accepted it. So what I found is like all the runs I get accepted for, I submit as a joke. Like I don't even want to play this. I'm just here. They'll never accept this. Haha. God damn it.
So
Because I did.
what's your next joke submission?
Uh, I guess Dragon Ball Z for Connect. They haven't accepted it though.
You have submitted it?
Yeah, twice. They haven't accepted it. I'm a little sad. I figured like the when everybody is home and they're not doing the event and you don't have to worry about setting up a Connect on a stage, that's the perfect time, man.
Yeah.
Like, give me that DBZ for Connect. Let's do it.
That's got to be a workout. That's like what, an hour long run or something?
Yeah, it's like 50 minutes of dabbing and squatting and T-posing.
Yeah,
It's great.
we got a question about T-posing coming up later. I'm
Hmm.
excited to learn more. So we got to save that one. We got to save it from 40.
Yeah, ideally, I might get like a PS Move game. I'm trying to just look for weird, wonky things to submit. The other joke run I'm hoping they actually accept at some point is Soul Calibur 2 arcade mode on DK Bongos.
Oh, wow.
So the DK Bongos don't have a D-pad. You can't move your character, by the way.
Okay.
So that speedrun involves using attacks to move forward and reacting to the AI, basically, while bashing the bongo controller. It's really fun.
So you have actually routed that and completed it?
Yep. I got a
Nice.
perfect on the final boss with DK bongos.
Oh, wow.
Oh, another thing about this DK5 run. There is a separate ROM of this from another rip of some other random release that Syntax did in the same game. That one has one variation to it. The only thing that is different in that ROM is if you grab the rope at the end that has the bell and you don't touch the bottom pixel of that rope, you instantly game over on every level.
What the hell?
Yeah, that's how it's coded. If you don't grab the bottom pixel of the rope, you instantly lose the game every time. It's really good.
Oh my god. So how?
So,
So do you actually have to manually go down the rope?
yep, you have
Okay.
to manually hit the bottom of the rope and run into it every time. This game does have speed tech though. Like it is a legitimate speed run. I think somebody did a task of it a while ago. But when you are in midair, you'll see DK sort of wiggle sometimes as I fall.
Hmm.
That will actually make DK fall faster than if I don't press anything.
Hmm.
And at a 45-degree angle rather than straight down like a rock. So that's called uh, ADHing, which is accelerated donkey hovering, which is totally different than ABHing.
And what's that for the folks at home?
Accelerated backwards something, I think. It's like a
Oh,
Half-Life term.
okay.
Yeah. But essentially all you do is you just mash the jump button and the run button midair, and then you'll do that 45-degree angle, like slow glide instead of a fall. Speed tech.
Oh yeah.
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 Doing it.
I was talking earlier about how I just quote unquote learned Cheetahman. I don't know. Have you ever
Oh
played
yeah.
Cheetahman 2?
Once. Did is there a ROM that actually makes it completable?
There is a patch which they
Okay.
allow for the leaderboard. But yeah, the last 4 levels you can basically just float through the sky by hitting attack and then jump right after. So
Okay.
among
Gotcha.
all the million other things that are broken with it, yeah, you can just float through the entire game.
I wouldn't mind learning Cheetah Men, to be honest. Could be fun.
Yeah, I
I,
think
I mean, yeah,
you went in with the right attitude, kind of like you were saying earlier. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I learned Portal recently, like
Oh,
within a
cool.
year. I suck at Portal. I'm 737th on the board, but I have a time on the damn board, man. I'm there.
There you
I'm
go.
technically a Portal speedrunner.
Yeah, that's got to be a really fun run, though.
It's interesting. I have friends in the speedrun scene who have done Portal speedruns forever. They even had like world records at one point. And I never thought I could do it. And then I just kind of sat down. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to learn the Portal speedrun. I'm just going to do it. And I'm not fast. I don't have a good time, but I completed the run. So, I mean, I'll take that. That's great. That feels awesome.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
I'm not in last. I think there's like 10 people ahead of me or behind me in the, 800-person leaderboard. Yeah.
No, I hear you though. Yeah, there are definitely some runs like I want to learn some PS1 game like Resident Evil 2 and a few other like randos that I have special places for in my heart. And yeah, I don't care. I don't care how fast it is.
Yeah. Like I think that's just what it is for me. Like video games need to be fun. Otherwise, I'm not really like using my time well. So if it's interesting and fun, at least to me, then I don't care. I'll play it. Like that's how I get, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. That game sucks, but it was fun to submit to a marathon and subject other people to. So I'm there.
Yeah, that's a good outlook. I like that. I mean, I love the competitive aspect of speed running as well. Not like in a adversarial way or anything, but I definitely feel you on that too.
Yeah.
And I have to mention this too. Have you ever seen the Game Boy Color Austin Powers game? Because I feel like that would be right up
So
your alley.
I think there's like two or three of them
Is there?
actually.
Oh wow. Okay.
They're the first video game made by Rockstar Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
So the precursor to the Grand Theft Auto series is a Austin Powers PDA mini game collection, which emulates a computer operating system on
Yeah,
your Game Boy Color. which is Randy, baby. Yeah, baby.
Oh, thank you.
They're not good at all, but I have played them. I
Yeah.
used to do grab bags on my stream to try and figure out which games I wanted to speed run. So I would just like go through games and then rate them afterwards. And that's where I got to try the Austin Powers games. And yeah, you know what? Would not suggest. Yeah, not worth your time.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun to look at, but yeah, unfortunately, I don't know
Yeah,
how you could even speed run that, but
you just
um,
finish all the mini games, I guess. That'd be the category.
right.
Like, there's a really shitty Pac-Man. There's like a rock paper scissors pure
Yeah.
RNG hell game.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, good luck.
Add it to the list.
Yep.
And of course we're watching Crotel renovations here. So this is like the updated version of the original Crotel, right?
Yeah, so Crotel was a free itch.io game that was released by a game dev called Sync, who then released a Steam version with some updated changes and a new mode, which is actually Crotel. I think that's what we're watching right now. Um, and that's called Crotel Renovations. So Crotel is essentially the hard mode of the original game,
Mm-hmm.
which has been redesigned uh, and some new enemies that weren't in the original.
And you have to pay for it.
Yeah. The original version, I don't believe, is available anymore on itch.io. Although I think we have an archive download for it on the Crotel speedrun board.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
that board died once Crotel Renovations came out, though. So,
Okay.
but the one major change that the dev made is that they removed an enemy, which was a fly, at the beginning of the game, and that actually removed a skip that I learned in the game. So I was a little sad about that
Oh,
because there's
bummer.
a right at the beginning of the game, you get to a gap that you're supposed to fall down, which then leads you to a staircase that goes back up to the other side. And what you could do instead is you could lure the fly to the edge, jump into the pit, let the fly hit you, and then turn around, and your knockback animation would actually knock you to the other side, skipping that whole section and saving a minute.
Oh, wow.
But they removed that fly because it was the only fly in the whole game, and it didn't really make sense. So I'm like,
Yeah.
ah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, that's sad. I wonder if they knew. I wonder if they knew about the skip.
Yeah, I told them about it afterwards. The dev's actually really cool,
Yeah,
but they removed it because it just didn't really make a lot of sense. And I'm like, yeah, that's fair.
sure.
I'm still sad though.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
cool.
yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
It's a cute game. I really want to play it. It's been on my list. I didn't know about it until I
Hmm.
saw you run it. I think I watched this run live, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah,
what
Crotel's really cute. I want to say it's $5 on Steam. It goes on sale every now and then for like two. So it's probably about like a 2 or 3 hour game if you play both modes. It's definitely short, but it has a good quality to it. It's just very fun. Good music. And I think the speed run's good. Now, I'm the only runner of the Croaktail
Mhm.
portion of the game. Everybody else just runs the Croaktail portion. So it would be nice to get a bit of competition on that time. I haven't really had a reason to go back to it much outside of submissions.
How long is the any percent the standard Crotel?
I think it's
Well,
like 11 minutes.
okay.
And then Croaktail is 1 minute more.
Okay.
So it's not that much more. And I'm sure there's time to be saved in the Croaktail run.
Nice. Well, it's on my list. So
Hmm.
if I do learn it, I'll definitely look into the Croaktail.
Yeah, it's not that much harder. It just has a little bit, of a difference in the gameplay. Like, there's a section now where you have to find all these like soot monster things. So essentially, that's just a routing mission. Try to get them all without like redoing any sections. Um, but yeah, I made that route. It's probably not great. There's probably a faster way to do it.
And what is the concept again? Like you're the supervisor, like you're the super of like a apartment building or something. What's going on with this game? I can't remember.
Yeah, so there's a crow that runs a hotel,
Hotel.
which
Okay.
has like long-term, rooms that you could
Hmm.
rent. And there are inspectors that are coming to check out the hotel to see if it meets code. So the crow panics and tries to run and clean up the mess of everything that's in the crotel that they've been neglecting. And then at the end, the cat inspectors are like, "Yeah, your hotel sucks, so we're gonna blow it up."
Oh my.
This is Lily, who is a frog that works for the cat inspectors, who was sent here as a like as a thank you for saving them from these soot monsters. And then Lily gets sent to a basement by scary ghosts who trick her.
Nice.
Yeah. So you see Lily
Poor
on both
Lily.
sides of the story, which is kind of cute.
Awesome. And then, sorry, I know we're kind of running a little short on time because you've got to get going by within the half an hour. I guess, and you've done a lot of other runs, but I noticed you've done a lot of co-op runs too. It looks like a lot with Lion. I think you did some with Drex as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Elion and Drex. Yep. My goal right now is to get a co-op run into GDQ. To be honest, I just want to get on stage with my buds and play games and have fun.
yeah,
So, so if I can get a co-op run in, that's my end goal.
yeah, that's a good goal.
They're beat 'em ups, which I don't think GDQ necessarily cares too much about. Although they tend to have one or two a marathon. But I really, really like beat 'em ups because that's what I spent my quarters on in
Hmm.
the arcade. Same with like TMNT,
Oh
X
yeah,
Men, like all those games. So if I can get one of those in, that fits my need of nostalgic and playing with my friends that I want to get in. So that's my goal.
well, I wish you the best in that. Yeah, it seems like there's been like I know Elrock's been getting a lot of stuff in lately. He did TMNT, I think, two different times in the last few years. And then he's got X-Men coming up on the next one.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Which yeah, I love that game as well. Now are you doing those like in person? Because he's in Canada, right? Is it El Lion? Is that how
Uh,
you
Ilion, yeah.
Elion?
Um, we would be doing them in person for the event. Otherwise, we just play online.
Okay,
So like the Capcom games, a lot of those were on the beat 'em up bundle. So we played through those on Switch, just using their servers. Streets of Rage 4 has direct connections. We just do that. I think we're actually the only runner of co-op on the new patch. Most of the Streets of Rage 4 community decided they wanted to do old patch, but I actually think the new patch is more fun. So hopefully that changes, to be honest. I'm not sure why some runners always think the old patch is the best instead of just, adapting. But
sure. Yeah,
yeah,
that's an interesting thing. Yeah, I mean, especially for like me who doesn't, someone like me or a lot of our viewers here who play primarily old console games. It's not something
no.
we run into very often. I mean, of course, there are revisions of ROMs, but that's a little different. So
Yeah.
what's the difference? I'm just curious, kind of how that breaks down.
So they balanced a bunch of characters, making some that were way too strong a little bit weaker, and others that were like not remotely viable a little bit better. In theory, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
And then they also redid the final boss fight, which used to be a really annoying, really long, like mashing fight. And instead, they split it up to one section which has two bosses, and then a second section which has that robot. But the robot has way less health, and you can kill it way quicker.
hmm,
So, like, it's the same, it's just a little bit different. So I think that one's actually way more fun because it adds more variety and skill to the final boss fight, and it's actually more interesting to watch. The only difference is the one character that was like super broken is like slightly slower now, but the game plays better. So like I'll take that.
yeah, yeah. Sounds like a good trade off, unless that's
Yeah.
your go to.
Yep. So I've been liking that. Streets of Rage 4 actually, I think the world record holder for most of the categories in it is actually the world record holder of like most of the Streets of Rage games, which is interesting.
Who's that?
Oh god, I have to look them up again.
Okay,
I can do it right now though.
sure.
Let's go to Streets of Rage 4.
Yeah, it seems
I have
like
to go to
there's been a lot of support for that game.
looks like it's the Mighty Bill.
Okay.
on some of these anyway. Yeah, some of these might have actually changed. Looking at them, Mighty Bill was most of the times for Adam at least, which I think was the fastest time. Yeah. If we look at, I actually do Retro 2 player. Yeah, Mighty Bill was the runner. We're no longer the only runners for Retro 2 player anymore. Somebody beat that 2 weeks ago. Neat.
Womp
First time
womp.
sucked, so that's great.
Yeah.
Because we just did one run on the new, we did some runs on the new patch to submit to GDQ, and then we were going to improve on it, but they weren't great runs, so that's good.
Oh yeah, always time for more.
Yeah.
Right on. Any other runs of note that you wanted to discuss?
Oh, like from runs I've done.
Yeah.
Let me take a quick look at what I had. I've done Vampire Knight. That's an interesting run. Vampire Knight is a Capcom light gun game, an arcade game. So I do arcade medium on the PS2 with a GunCon controller at my CRT. And most people don't really speedrun light gun games. So that's interesting.
Yeah,
That
that's gonna be
game,
fun.
like, it's a game that requires a lot of precision and a lot of fast shooting, as well as a bit of an endurance run because you're just constantly, hitting the trigger on your controller
Sure.
and the reload button on the controller, so you never have to actually like run out of bullets. So that's interesting, but there's also like routing in that game because that game has different routes depending on which enemies you kill and how fast you do it. So it's not just like a straight. Uh, it's actually more variety than Pokemon Snap. I can put it that way.
Oh wow, that's really surprising for a
Yeah,
shooter.
because if you're like 1 second too slow on killing an enemy, you get taken down a different path. So that's cool as hell. It also has super awful B movie cutscenes, which are great for marathons. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I think Angry Video Game Nerd just did a video on that or something recently, or maybe,
Oh yeah.
or I know I saw someone like talking about it recently. I could be wrong, but
One other run I started doing, but then had to stop because I hurt my hands, was Time Crisis 1 player 2 GunCon.
nice.
So you get to, dual wield both guns at the screen and go blam, 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 blam for 30 minutes.
And and do you still use like a pedal for? I guess not use a button
Yeah.
on the console version.
So what you have to do is you have to hold down a button on both guns in order to pop out.
Okay.
Or you can swap it the other way where if you hold the buttons, you'll go into cover.
Okay.
So it's that way instead, which actually kind of sucks because when you're dual wielding gun cons, the buttons that you have to press are on the side of the gun con or on the bottom of the gun con. So if you're holding it like you would like a normal, you know, toy pistol or whatever, if you use your, I guess, yeah, your like ring finger to pull the trigger, then your index to like try and press the button, it's weird. Like basically you're using your middle finger to like shoot the gun and then yeah,
Oh wow, yeah, that's super awkward.
and trying to do that with two guns over an extended period of time is actually a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
uh,
to watch that.
yeah, my I actually, if I could, I would love to do a 2 player 4 gun cons race of Time Crisis 2 because I just think it's stupid as hell.
Have you submitted that?
No, not yet. Well, the other thing to consider with like on games is that there's a flash on the screen.
Yeah,
So you can't really show a light gun screen or light gun game screen anyways for anybody that would be photosensitive.
sure.
Uh, Puri, my good buddy Puri made a light gun filter for OBS that actually pauses the screen um, for the frames that it would take the light gun to flash and then resumes the feed. So you
Hmm.
can't cut out like every single flash, but it essentially by freezing that video input feed removes the majority of light gun flashes that would appear for at least the viewer, which is
Yeah.
actually cool.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
really neat. I kind of suffer from photosensitivity. Like I don't have epilepsy or anything, but I mean I cannot look at a flashing screen. It
Yeah.
it messes with me pretty bad.
So I ran that game at Calithon actually just a couple weeks ago, and I used that filter to cut out a lot of those flashes.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So what's it
Um,
called again? Or
the
how do you find it, I guess, for anyone listening?
filter. Yeah, I can try and pull it up again. Do. It's on Puri's website.
Okay.
Um, I'll
And I
need
could
to find it
yeah,
again.
I can always post it later, like in the YouTube link, but
Yeah, I know he sent it to me not too long ago because I needed to re-download it. Um, yeah, I'll find it again and I can link you to it.
okay. Yeah, I appreciate that.
But he has like a GitHub page for it, basically.
Nice.
There's a OBS version which is now very old but has it built in, or there's a standalone application you can just run that will take your feed from your capture card, and then you can just window capture that for OBS.
Okay.
So either of those work. It only really matters if you plan on streaming light gun games, but and especially old light gun games. New ones don't actually do the screen flash anymore because the
Right.
technology changed.
Yeah, but
But
still,
yeah,
even if it helps, a handful of people, that's pretty awesome.
I mean, if you want to stream Resident Evil Dead Aim, you know,
Right?
or the dinosaur one that was on PS2 that also kind of sucks, but you can move with the gun con controller.
Man,
Then yeah,
I think those yeah, I don't know. I used to love like gun games. And maybe that's something I should look into. As far as speed running, I've got a feeling a lot of them probably don't have as many options as like that vampire game. What's
most of them don't split path.
yeah,
It's just about shooting really fast. That's it.
yeah.
So yeah.
I guess there's the Die Hard trilogy though, so that if you're running the all three, if you run the full trilogy, then you're getting some more options.
Yeah, the
For
Die Hard arcade game's great. Oh no, are you talking about the light gun Die Hard game?
yeah, that it had
Okay,
the trilogy because yeah, it had like the beat 'em up, the light gun game, and then the car driving game. I played the shit out of that.
that's fair. Yeah. I think like arcade games in general don't really get a lot of like I don't know. There's not a lot of focus on them in the speedrun community.
Yeah,
There's some arcade games that get a little bit here and there, but especially light gun games. Like speedrun community doesn't give a crap about light gun games, to be honest. Uh, that can also be said for like some beat 'em ups and I don't know
Pachin-
fighters.
pachinko. Speedrun
Yeah.
community doesn't give a shit about pachinko speedruns.
No, but they do care about Peggle.
Yeah.
So, so and Barney's hide and seek. That's a very important
Oh
video
yeah.
game.
Jeopardy CPU percent.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
big.
Pencil sharpening in real life simulator. Yeah, that one's very important.
Yeah, as long as you're having fun, as
Yeah.
long as you would really enjoy sharpening pencils, do your thing.
I do think it's funny that the IRL percent of that run uses a real drill to just drill 10 pencils as quickly as possible. And I'm like, yeah, this rules.
How's that work with a drill? What?
Because they literally just attach a pencil to a drill and then put it into an old style, razor blade pencil sharpener, and it'll remove the pencil.
Oh
It does it,
Jesus Christ!
and they just go through 10 of them.
Yeah,
They're like,
that's
yeah, speed run done.
okay. I knew there were IRL versions. I didn't realize they were using power tools. That's insane.
Yep, yep.
Sounds very dangerous.
It kind of rules though.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that too. You've given me a lot of homework tonight, and
Another
I'm not
actually,
mad.
if you want to look at another bad game that has a really good speed run, Sword of the Blackstone is that game.
Sword of
Blood
the
Sin-
Blackstone.
Yeah, that game absolutely sucks, but it has such a cool speed run.
What system is that on, or is that PC?
That is a PC game, which is I want to say some 15-year-old's like pet project game that got released on Steam, which is kind of a Zelda game. Kind of.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's great. You spend most of that speed run just like clipping through walls and flying through the air. It's really fun.
Interesting. Okay. Check that one out too.
Yeah.
And that's
I
you have to pay for it as well, or it said
yeah,
Steam, so
yeah, it's actually a paper game. I forget how much though. That one is honestly worth it if you speedrun it because it's just very silly and dumb. If you
yeah,
play it like seriously, you're gonna have a bad time.
yeah.
but if you're going in just expecting something silly and stupid, it's worth your money. I want to say it's less than $5. It's probably like $1 or two.
Okay, that's not bad.
Let me. They have released a Metroid Prime game that they also just sold the idea of and then made it their own. Yeah, it's $2. That game is not worth your money. That is a $10 game and it sucks.
Even on the speedrun side.
Yup, it's garbage. Do not bother.
Well, I appreciate the tip.
Yeah, but yeah, Sword of the Blackstone is very entertaining.
Right on. Well, hey, we got just a little bit more time. I was hoping you could tell us. And once again, I know do you actually have to be like out of here at in 20, or do you need a
Oh,
little before that? Because I
I
do
should
want to.
probably go a little before, but yeah,
Okay,
we can answer questions and whatnot.
okay. Well, I guess real quick before we do you just want to talk at all about? I guess you mentioned some of your outside interests, Game Boy modding, Valuethon, the Rough Cuts podcast. I mean, even if you just kind of want to shout it out a little self promo or tell us what you want about those things.
Yeah, so recently I've been doing a lot of Game Boy modding, which includes reshelling. So taking a system that's been broken, fixing the screen on it, cleaning it up, anything like that needs to be done, and then just putting a brand new shell on it. So it looks like it would have came directly from the factory with some, personalization in the colors.
Yeah.
I've also been doing screen replacements with LCD screens on them. That includes Game Boy Color, Game Boy Pocket, and Game Boy Advance. So you take out that old screen, which didn't have a backlight on it, that looked kind of crappy, and if you tilted it at the right light, you could kind of see it.
Right.
And you replace it with a brand new, like phone style LCD that still runs on the original board, the original hardware, and everything. It just has this, brand new crisp screen. And that requires a little bit more soldering and a little bit more know-how than just like taking something apart and putting it back together.
Yeah, I'm sure. And those are
So that's
beautiful, by the way. I love looking
well,
at
thank
those
you.
on Twitter. Yeah, no problem.
I actually just bought another DMG Game Boy, the original fat one, because I wanted to try printing a UV custom shell for it and try to make something a little more artistic. I think it's fun to mod because like I get to use my uh, computer like hardware skills that I've
Hmm.
learned in the past uh, to like fix them and actually do all that low level work. And then I also get to create something that I think looks really cool at the end of it. So
Right.
it also feels like the artistic side of creating something, which is fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I
That
have been thinking about selling those,
that was my
but
next question. Yeah, go ahead.
I have been thinking about doing that. I've also been thinking about taking commissions. I've had a couple people reach out to me, but I haven't had somebody actually go through with a commission yet. So if somebody wants, I'm gonna do it anyway. I might as well make one that somebody actually wants to use, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, check them out on Twitter. Yeah, if you're not following Boyks on Twitter, it's a fun time. So not only the pretty Game Boys, but yeah, I've been enjoying watching you.
And then yeah, Rough Cuts is the podcast that I do with my buddy Ilion. We basically watch a movie that stars a dog in some way, shape, or form, which we've bent the rules on a couple times, but I think that's fine. And then we discuss the film, generally comedically make fun of it, and then rate the dogs at the end. It's a really fun comedy podcast. We actually started that as a joke, like most of the things I do. Because we had a him and I both had a God, what was it? It's the Twitch bounty board. We had a bounty board for like a college basketball game thing that they wanted us to watch.
Mhm.
So we each had to watch an hour of some college basketball game on Twitch and then commentate it. So rather than commentating it, we spent that hour reading the Airbud script. And then we're like, hey, we should just make a podcast about this. Okay. So we did. So we just started up a podcast about the Airbud Cinematic Universe, which has 25 movies in the expanded universe.
Oh my god.
Sorry, 26 movies in the expanded universe.
There's too
And
many.
then we kind of decided to expand that out to, well, let's just do all the dog movies. Why does it have to be the Airbud movies specifically, right? So we started doing Cop Dog, Karate Dog. Uh, there's
The
a lot of movies that end in the word dog. Actually,
Beverly Hills Chihuahua.
we
We
haven't actually done one of those yet. I did watch one on my own time, which was not a good use of my time because we didn't talk about it. But we have watched Cool Dog. Cool Dog was good. Also, just a movie called Dogs. That was a horror movie. Uh, sure. We've
hmm.
also done some other movies like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie that came out recently.
Hmm.
We thought that was gonna suck. That movie was actually great. Y'all should watch Sonic the
Oh
Hedgehog.
really? Okay.
That movie is good. We watched Cats 2019. That is the only film I've ever somehow ended up in the fetal position in my chair in the theater, and I don't know how or why or when. But I just knew afterwards. I'm like, oh my god.
Sober?
Yeah, I was sober. That was a terrifying experience, my friend. Do not go see Cat in
Okay.
any way, shape, or form. We also did the Super Mario Brothers movie because Yoshi is both a dog and a horse, and I'm not answering questions at this time.
That checks out.
So, I mean, we've done those. We've done some weird oddities that we think would fit the category. We've also done werewolf movies. Werewolf movies totally count. They're
Yeah, I
dogs.
was gonna ask,
Yeah.
have you watched Teen Wolf? But I mean, that maybe
Yep.
that. Okay.
We did Teen Wolf. My friend Nick Filardi, who is a professional comic colorist for DC and Marvel and a bunch of other places, guest starred on that episode because that movie is, I believe, I want to say it was written by a famous Marvel writer
Hmm.
randomly. So we brought him to get the comic perspective of that.
You were
He's
gonna
going to
say it
join
was based on him. Go
us.
ahead.
Hopefully not. He's going to join us for Teen Wolf 2 when we get to that eventually, though.
Nice.
So there's that. We've done the Scooby Doo movies. My favorite movie we've ever done is called Yatterman, which is a live action version of a 70s anime
Oh God.
about a robot mech dog and their superhero kids, which are like 30-year-old, 40-year-old adults in the movie, that use toys like yo-yos to fight essentially Power Ranger villains. It's
So
great.
is that also the worst one? Confused Mike asked what the worst Rough Cuts movie you reviewed is the worst the best as well,
Oh,
or vice versa.
the worst movie we've ever seen is probably Love on a Leash, which it's about a movie. Well, the movie is about a guy who turns into a golden retriever, which is
Okay.
already questionable.
It's
And it's a
been
romance
done.
film.
Yeah.
And the whole movie has a composer listed for it, but there is no music in that film. Not even in the credits, not even the intro. There is no music.
That's amazing.
It is very bad. That thing was absolutely rough to go through, for sure. That one I would say is my least favorite film we've watched. It was just agonizing to try and complete. Yeah,
Really, really regret that we didn't start talking about this sooner because I know this is a speedrunning podcast, but I feel
yeah,
like it would have been a lot of fun to spend more time on this.
yeah. There's a lot of quality stuff. I think like we spent a whole movie talking about conspiracy theories, or a whole podcast about a movie, spending about conspiracy theories about the director who somehow got millions of dollars to make the movie Axel, even though he's never made a movie before,
Hmm.
and you can't find any information about him anywhere on the internet. It doesn't exist. It's been scrubbed clean. So, so how did this random person get millions of dollars to release a AAA movie about a robot dog? out of thin air and then disappear in the exact same moment. Right? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, that's insane.
So we spent that whole podcast after 2 hours of researching it when we watched the movie to try and figure out who this guy was, just talking about conspiracy theories about this director.
Has anyone else covered that?
No, it's the story of the decade.
I have to tell InfoWars about that one. All right,
Yeah, we felt like we had a board with like, red string connecting everything at the end of that one.
right. Pepe Sylvia.
For sure, yeah.
All right, and then let's jump to the rest of the questions. I know you got to go soon. Like I said, I'd love to dive. I'm just trying to respect your time. 40-watt range asked, please explain the power of the Connect T pose.
Okay, so when you're using the Xbox Connect and you do a T pose, it not only makes you the strongest being in the world, but it also makes your power level over 9,000.
That makes sense. Okay,
Yeah,
like
you assert
it literally
like
does
yes,
in the game.
you
Okay,
you both can shoot a Kamehameha afterwards and then one shot your opponent, and you can assert dominance on them before you do it. It's really important.
I'm gonna have to watch that run. I downloaded it, but I didn't have a chance to check it out.
Oh, nice.
All right. He did ask about the best and worst dog movie. We already covered that, but good question. Um, Legend of Pepsi Man and its beginnings. I guess that's more in general. Do you know that? The brief
So
history?
yeah, Pepsi Man is actually an ad campaign that was ran in Japan and Israel and Brazil mainly. And we didn't get it in the States. So it was
Right.
literally just an advertising thing. And then they're like, oh, we should make a video game of it because it's so popular in Japan. So why not? So they made a video game of it. And then they stopped doing Pepsi Man after a while. It only ran for a couple of years as an ad campaign. So the way that Pepsi Man kind of came up, at least in the English speaking world, is more YouTuber related. People just finding weird games and then
Yeah.
making videos of them. I think Proton John did some video of it. The Completionist, I want to say, did one. There's a couple other people. I was actually, when I did that run at GDQ, I shot the price up on eBay by $20
Oh wow.
because of my run. So, like, the history of it in our culture is more based on a YouTuber generation than the
Right.
actual ad campaign that ran. But oddly enough, most of the speedrunners of that community are Brazilian
Interesting.
because that's where the ads ran.
Right.
So, like, Brazilians love Pepsi Man. It's
That's
really weird.
and there are a ton of Brazilian speedrunners too. I know a handful.
Yeah. Like, they literally saw those ads and then maybe played the game. So, like, yeah, for some reason, like, that community started as like 3 or 4 of us in the US, and then it kind of jumped to like 12 or 14 Brazilian runners in addition.
Yeah, like that's their happy place. Growing
Yeah.
up playing Pepsi Man. That's beautiful. Right
But that's
on.
the deep Pepsi Man lore.
I appreciate that greatly. Let's see. Diston asked, "Is Pepsi Man actually a good speed game?"
I would say it's fun and it has good music, so that makes it a good speed game.
Okay, it looks
It's
fun.
also it's fairly difficult. Like, it's not an easy run. If you like challenge, it's interesting that way. The game does play pretty much the same every time you play it, so it's mostly just getting used to muscle memory
Hmm.
and pathing. So once you get that down, it's not that difficult to actually go through Pepsi Man, but I think it's enjoyable as a speed run if you want to put on a performance for someone else.
Yeah,
So that's what I enjoy out of it.
right on. But yeah, I can see how that'd be a fun one. Let's see. Crit Rocket Runner. What are the ups and downs of being known for running a single game? And I don't think you're I understand what he's saying there, but
Hmm.
obviously you're known for more than just a single game. But I think that's probably your most well-known game.
Yeah, if so the ups of being known for a single game is that there is a diehard audience that loves to see that game and see you play that game. So if you're a Dark Souls streamer and you stream Dark Souls, you have a Dark Souls community that is there to watch your Dark Souls, right?
Mm-hmm.
The downside is when you no longer play Dark Souls or whatever game, that community is less invested. It's harder to get a community um, and people that know you for your personality than it is for a game that you happen to be playing, to be honest.
Sure.
So that's the downside. You can potentially gain a very strong audience in one place, but if you don't set the expectation that, hey, we're here to just laugh and enjoy each other's presence or whatever, then you potentially create a rift in your audience by um, only doing the one thing.
Right.
So yeah,
Makes sense.
like I do everything, right? Like I do podcasts, I speedrun, I do variety, I play mahjong.
Right. That was about to
I
say.
I make mashup music that I sell on Bandcamp. Like I literally I have spread out so far from when I literally just did magic. So
Yeah, and that's admirable. I love that.
yeah,
Pie Guy 2000. I'm guess is this a fan of yours or friend of yours?
yep.
Dear Boyks,
Viewer, yep.
who is Oliver Daley?
Okay, so Oliver Daley is that's a tough question. So Oliver Daley is the director of Axel, who doesn't exist, who has millions of dollars to make a
Okay.
fucking movie.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know if swearing's okay.
No, that's fine.
The question is not who is Oliver Daley. The question is who created Oliver Daley as an alias. That's the real question.
That sounds like a new website right there. All right. Well, thank you for the question, Pie Guy. Just a couple more. Zexy, and the most cringeworthy question, but I think I didn't actually ask it last time you asked it, so I'm going to do it because I love Zexy. What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Well, if they made a video game about the Klondike bar, I would play that game on a stage in front of 100,000 people, and then they could give me a Klondike bar.
Play it with Klondike bars.
Yeah, that's true. There's a streamer called Rudism who makes a bunch of weird controllers and then plays games on them.
See the
And he has
potato guy?
a yeah, he has a video of beating Pepsi Man with a Pepsi can controller that uses 8 Pepsi cans.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, then maybe I'll beat a video game using a Klondike bar controller to get a Klondike bar.
Nice. And Zexy says he'd kill a man.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty fair too, I think.
All right. Thank you for the question, Zexy. Gruntiatus, similar question. How much Pepsi could Pepsi Man pep if Pepsi Man could pep peps?
At least an entire dingy American living room set worth.
That checks out.
Yeah.
Okay. And final question from Rayo, I believe. Yeah, I think that's everything. One run you haven't done but would love to try and grind for a goal.
Actually, a run I'm interested in trying to learn is the Left 4 Dead 2 4-player run.
Okay.
That would actually be really fun. Just on the same like wavelength as trying to get all my friends to speedrun with me on stage. Like, I think that would be really fun to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'd have good like online support for that because yeah, that's the problem with some of these old retro games trying to play co-op.
Yep.
Not so easy sometimes. So right on. Well, thank you so much for answering those questions, and thank you so much for being on here. Like I said, I'm trying to respect your time to make sure we get you to your other engagement on time. But solid 2 hours. I feel like we could have talked longer. Um,
Yeah.
I'm super freaking tired too, so I'm sorry I'm a little out of it tonight. But you did great. You kept things flowing. So it was pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, I
Uh,
appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
yeah, no problem. Let me move over to the end screen. Real quick, couple notes. So like I said, we got two snack on next month, and then after that, we are having Angry Lanks on. So there's the spoiler. We got two badass NES runners coming up next, and then we'll probably switch to a non NES runner after that. I think that's going to be kind of how we run things moving forward. Um, Make sure you follow us, follow Boyks. I will be posting this on YouTube eventually with all relevant links. Anything you want to say? Any shout outs, Boyks?
Yeah, I would like to shout out the movie bum, ba, bum, Howling 2. It is very Halloween specific, and it has Christopher Lee wearing cool sunglasses at a punk concert. It's very important. I would also like to shout out the movie Spooky Buddies, which is part of the Air Bud franchise, and actually a pretty solid Halloween movie somehow.
Okay. Did you cover
Yeah,
those on the show, on the podcast?
sure did.
Okay. So yeah, everybody check out Rough Cuts as
Yeah,
well. I'll make sure to put that in the YouTube links.
yeah.
Um, right on. Well, yeah, we're gonna go raid Perfect Finn. He is grinding to get his ninja license in Ninja Gaiden. But thank you so much again, Boyks. Thank you everyone in
Hmm.
chat. This is fun. So everybody stay safe. Have a great weekend. Much love.